of this very American sounding teacher talking about how feedback has helped her, which I'm going to share with you now.
On a mat looks like in action.
Good morning, everybody. Let's talk about what's going on today. To get started, we're doing a peer review day, okay, peer review day. And our goal by the end of class is for you to be able to determine whether or not you have moves to prove in your essays.
My name is Sarah Brown-Wessling. I am a high school English teacher at Johnston High School in Johnston, Iowa.
Turn to somebody next to you. Tell them what you think I mean when I talk about moves to prove.
I think that there is a difference for teachers between the abstract of how we see our practice and then the concrete reality of it.
Okay, so I would like you to please bring up your papers.
I think what video offers for us is a certain degree of reality. You can't really dispute what you see on the video. And there is a lot to be learned from that, and there's a lot of ways that we can grow as a profession when we actually get to see this. I just have a flip camera and a little tripod and invested in a tiny little wide-angle lens. At the beginning of class, I just perch it in the back of the classroom. It's not a perfect shot. It doesn't catch every little thing that's going on, but I can hear the sound, I can see a lot, and I'm able to learn a lot from it. So it really has been a simple but powerful tool in my own reflection.
All right, let's take a look at the long one first, okay?
Once I'm finished taping, then I put it in my computer, and then I'll scan it and, take a peek at it. If I don't write things down, I don't remember them. So having the notes is part of my thinking process, and I discover what I'm seeing as I'm writing. I really have used it for my own personal growth, my own personal reflection on teaching strategy and methodology and classroom management, and just all of those different facets of the classroom.
I'm glad that we've actually done the process before so we can kind of compare what works, what doesn't. So
I think that video exposes so much of what's intrinsic to us as teachers in ways that help us learn and help us understand, and then help our broader communities understand what this complex work is really all about. I think it is a way to exemplify and illustrate things that we cannot convey in a lesson plan, things you cannot convey in a standard, things that you cannot even sometimes convey in a book of pedagogy.
all right, everybody, have a great weekend. I'll see you later.
So that basically what she was doing was videoing herself teaching and then giving herself feedback or reflecting on what she'd done to improve her practice. And so Bill Gates, basically the whole article is saying that that's what all American schools and stuff should be like. In New Zealand we have got our appraisal system in place, and wow, that's gone fast. So that's what's stuck out for me. The next one, principals as coaches, and I think Jason's a pretty awesome coach. He guides everyone towards their goals, and that was what that article was basically all about. Then I started looking at coaching, what's that one? Coaching and appraisal. That one wasn't very exciting, but it gave me a bit of an idea about the kinds of questions to ask and what to do. The one that I found that was really helpful, and I know that when Jason has left me a comment, I'm not about that one, but all sorts of question starters that you may or may not have thought about asking before, and would be useful in a classroom as well. So when I'm coaching someone, these are the kinds of things I need to say, and I quite like this one. You say what's the best thing that could happen, or what's the worst thing that could happen, because there's always a best in everything. It's a bit like every obstacle is an opportunity. That sort of reminded me of that. So those are all, they're called powerful questions. They're all open-ended questions that make you really think about how do you really want to be. That's quite a good one. How do you really want to be? Yeah. So that was interesting. I really like this one because of the title. It was called The Top 4 Behaviours That Doom Relationships and What to Do About Them. It was all really, you could relate the stuff from this. I think it was based around actually a marriage guidance thing, but then it kind of related to coaching as well. And so it said that when you're in a relationship, whether it's professional or personal, there's 4 toxic behaviours, which are criticism, defensiveness, contempt and stonewalling. what really shone to me about that one was the importance of having like open and honest relationships and good relationships with your team, and being willing to listen and share stuff. What's that other video? I had another video from the lady at Flaxmere, and she was talking about coaching and formative coaching, which is what they do there. And rather than having an external person like your principal or someone who's not teaching come and watch you in your classroom, which always makes you feel kind of nervous and uncomfortable, but to have one of your other teaching colleagues come in and you watch them and they watch you, and not only are you learning from what they do, but they're thinking about what they do more because there's someone watching you. So that was also what Bill Gates talked about too, is having professionals working together and sharing ideas and learning from best practice from each other in ways that would also help like coaching each other that way. And that's, is that 10 minutes? Are there any questions? Yay! Lots of meetings. So, my TAI focus question is, what effect will coaching have on increasing teaching pedagogy within my team? So Jason and I decided on this as my goal, seeing as how this was going to be my first year as team leader, leading the Bloms. And I didn't really have much of an idea about what coaching actually is or was, so I used it as my starting point to find out what coaching is. So I just basically went and Googled what is teachers as coaches, or what is coaching, and the first reading that I came up with was this one called Teaching How to Teach, Coaching Tips from a Former Principal. And lots of the coaching readings and videos that I found were actually written by principals, which is interesting because I think that they need to be, from what I found out about coaches now, they need to be able to coach. It makes sense, and you'll find out why once I've finished talking about it. So this, lots of the coaching things that I read too were written by people who weren't actively teaching, so like principals or ex-principals and that kind of thing, so that was kind of interesting. The first thing that I found that jumped out at me about coaching is the importance of asking reflective questions. And so reflective questions are all about, they need to be open-ended. They need to make the person that you're questioning think about their answers, and not just like, it's a bit like the fact questions we've been using in school. Lots of points in this article were around the types of questions that you ask. Reflective questions are supposed to initiate conversations and encourage the person you're questioning to think critically about what they're doing, explore their ideas and make sense of them. So I thought that's quite cool, and I also thought that lots of the questioning things that I did find are also relevant to my teaching in the classroom too, although I don't have any photos of that because I haven't got there yet. Another thing from this article that stood out is that when you're coaching someone, you're actually not supposed to give anyone advice. You're meant to ask the right questions so that they can come to their own conclusions. So it's also about being a good listener. That was that one in a nutshell. Blah, blah, blah. This video is really interesting. It was by Bill Gates, and it's about teachers needing real feedback. And it was really interesting. I actually, just while I was watching it, I took a couple of screenshots, and they talked about the success in reading in countries all over the world, and how far, that he's talking about American schools and how far down the scale Americans were. We were above America. I think we were about 7th. I'll just see if I can find a photo. I'm not going to show you the whole video, but I'm going to show you a bit of it in a second. So that, how do I make it bigger? You can see down there is New Zealand, we're 7th, and then USA is, well, you can't see. Oh yeah, right down the bottom, red one. Okay, so that's reading, they call it reading proficiency, and so America was really far down, and then they showed the next photo. This one shows the schools in the world. The blue ones are the ones who actually, the teachers have been given feedback. So they have feedback systems in place. New Zealand's one of them, and basically the video was saying that America's this far down because no one is giving their teachers feedback. They're basically just going along and teaching, and they're being satisfactory because that's all they know because no one's telling them any different, or they get one response from the people watching them, and that is a tick to say that they're okay. And so